All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Todd County Regular Board of Commissioners Board Meeting. Today's date is Friday, December 9th, 2022. Time is 9 a.m. All commissioners are present, along with the county attorney, auditor, treasurer, and county coordinator. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amendments to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I have a few amendments requested. I have 3 items, and I'd like them to be 10.7, 10.8, and 10.9 under administration. 10.7 would be the 2022 through 2024 LELS Road Deputy Contract. 10.8 would be the 2022 through 2024 Teamsters Sheriff Supervisory Contract. And 10.9 would be the 2022 through 2024 Teamsters Jailer Dispatch Contract.
Okay. Anything else from administration?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to add on the Ag Society. They had two things that they were trying to get on, and they wanted, we set them.
Where you want them added on to?
I don't know where you want to put them, under Facilities Committee or
Okay, 6.2.
6.2.
Okay. Auditor, treasurer, anything to add?
I have none.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners,
I'll move the agenda as, with the additions.
with the amendments?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the agenda with the amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Motion was by Newman. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consent items.
Today we have the meeting minute approval for November 15th, 2022. Gambling permit for the NWTF Stratton Blackbirds. A resignation of Nathan Ruda, seasonal solid waste. Tracy Becker, a resignation, correctional officer. Kellen Pulliam, a resignation, correctional officer. Emmett Winkles, resignation, part-time correctional officer. A hire of a full-time correctional officer, Elizabeth Montchow. A resignation of a social worker, Amanda Langford. And a hire of part-time office assistant, Catherine Pittman.
Okay, you've seen and had a chance to review the consent items. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Auditor, treasurer.
First item I have today is the auditor warrants for November 2022. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the November 2022 auditor warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $2,826,306.17.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the auditor warrants totaling $2,826,306.17. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Next item I have is the commissioner warrants. Background again was sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $236,015.42.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the commissioner warrants totaling $236,015.42. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Next item I have is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $112,301.24.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Health and Human Services Commissioner warrants totaling $112,301.24. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Next item then would be the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendations is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $57,182.22.
All right, you've seen the board action for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants totaling $57,182.22. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Next item I have then is the 2023 polling place designation. The background here is Minnesota Statute 204B.16 requires municipalities, school districts, and counties to designate polling place locations by December 31st annually for the next year's elections. Todd County is responsible for designating polling locations for the entire county's absentee precinct and the one mail ballot precinct, the city of Swanville, and the county special elections municipal locations. Your options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not adopt attached resolution, and the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution designating the polling place for Todd County absentee precinct, mail ballot precincts, and special election precincts within Todd County for the 2023 election year. And it is noted on the resolution, the location is actually here, the Todd County Historic Courthouse, 215 First Avenue South, Suite 201, Long Prairie, Minnesota.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the resolution for the adoption of the 2023 designation of the polling places. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item I have today is the 2023 Public Defender Contract. Background, Todd County is responsible for the provision of public defender services for certain types of cases. Peters Law Office has proposed a contract renewal for 2023. Peters Law Office has provided the county board a summary letter for consideration. The options are to approve the contract or do not approve the contract. The recommendation is to approve the Peters Law Office for Public Defender Services in Todd County for 2023. And it does say the financial implications there, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the public defender contract for 2023. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, is that an increase or the same?
I believe it's an increase, yes.
Okay.
It is. And John and I worked with this together. He did reach out to other individuals, so we did have it open, and this is what we came back with. And he did review everything. Is that correct, John?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item I have is just a discussion and informational item. There's no action needed. The Sauk River Watershed Manager introduction of applicant. Background is Todd County Board of Commissioners are seeking applicants for appointment to the Sauk River Watershed District Board of Managers. The filing period closed on November 18th of 2022. The applicant information received within the filing period has been provided to the county board for review. The applicant will be present for the county board to interview if we're having one, or if you have any general questions for him. And so this is the time to introduce. The only applicant I had was Eugene Menson, and I believe he's here. And you have a copy of his application and his background experience, his volunteer activities. Not that I need to read it all.
Would you like me to have him come up to the table? You have questions or concerns or
Mr. Chair,
So-
anything? Yes, go ahead,
Mr. Chair,
sir.
we interviewed this gentleman at the last time that Sauk River had an opening, so I think Mr. Menson is well qualified for the position, so.
Mr. Chair, I would like to just have him have a question for him. if
Sure,
he'd
why don't you come up to
forward.
the table up here, Mr. Manson? Thank you for coming in.
Eugene, I'd like to ask just why you'd like to be on this board. What are your interests in this board?
Well, I think it's something I'd like to get more involved in the
Okay.
community. I think the experience I have would be a plus to come to the board. And that's about it. I want to serve Todd County. I've lived here a long time, and it's time to get more involved.
And I'm assuming from your address, you live within the Sauk River
Absolutely.
Watershed District?
Yep.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank
Any
you.
other, hang on one second. Any other questions for Mr. Menson while he's up? All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much, sir.
So then I'll go to the next board action, which is actually the appointment. So Sauk River Watershed Board of Managers appointment, the background again, Todd County Board of Commissioners are seeking an applicant. We did the interviewing process, the manager for the remainder of this term expiring July 1 of 2024. The position has been advertised in county newspapers and applicant information was received by November 18th deadline. And so our options are to appoint Eugene Menson to the Sauk River Watershed District Board of Managers, or do not appoint the member. The recommendation is to appoint Eugene Menson to the Sauk River Watershed District Board of Managers for the remaining of a 3-year term, beginning immediately through July 1 of 2024.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the appointment of the Sauk River Watershed Board of Managers. Looking for a motion.
So move. Number 1, appoint.
Motion by Newman for option number 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Facilities. Morning, Mitch.
Morning. Good morning, everyone. So the topic for the agenda is the Justice Center roof and rooftop project. The background is the Justice Center roof and rooftops are at the end of their life expectancy and are in need of replacement. Bids were submitted through the public bid process for the new roof and rooftops for the Justice Center. The Facilities Committee is recommending BCI construction with the low bid of $1,510,069 for the roof and rooftop projects. The options are to approve the recommendation of the Facilities Committee to move forward with a low bid from BCI Construction of $1,510,069 for the Justice Center roof and rooftop project. The recommendation is to approve the recommendation of the Facilities Committee to move forward with a low bid from BCI Construction of $1,510,069 for the Justice Center roof and rooftop project.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the bid for the Justice Center roof and rooftops project. Be looking for a motion.
We have discussion first, Mr. Chair?
Sure can.
It is, the budgeted box is not checked, so I would like to know.
I apologize for that. So this is a budgeted item.
Okay.
Regardless of what we do, this is not gonna, this money will be determined by the board, either out of the ARPA funds, which we have and is currently sitting at, I think, Chris, you have that number? or Denise? 3.9. And we do have, depending upon where the board has, we do also have money in the building improvement funds, which are available depending upon which way the board wants to go with fund utilization.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, the committee's gonna come back, excuse me, with a recommendation of where these funds would come from then? Is that what you're?
We wanted the board to determine where we wanted to bring the funds out of, if it was out of the ARPA funds or if we wanted to bring a portion. We thought it felt best to have the board decide where you'd like those funds to come from.
Okay, and when would that decision be made?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Kircher, if you decide on this project moving forward, we would want to determine where those funds come.
Today?
We would want to.
Yep.
I believe the recommendation from the Facilities Committee has been to use the ARPA dollars. I don't
funds.
want to speak out of turn with the other two commissioners, but that's been the discussion, is to utilize those ARPA dollars.
Totally?
I think too, and I'm gonna jump into with
Yep.
Chris, because I think the discussion was, and definitely the consensus of the facilities was to use the ARPA money for this project. It still leaves a nice fund balance within the ARPA dollars for other projects, and then we can start moving back and going back and reconvening for other projects off from that, so. Well, we determined what that balance would be, it's like
So it's currently at 3.9.
so it's
Yep.
2.4 million or something that would still be left in the ARPA funds for
I-
other projects.
I apologize for not having that in my
Okay.
board action.
Well, being a part of some of the committees that are, had met in discussion of how to spend some of the ARPA money, my concern is that we would dry that money up and not be able to do some other improvements that we had agreed upon when we left those committees. So is there enough money left in that fund then to fund the rest of the requests or not?
There would not be enough funds in there to fulfill all of those proposals. There were a lot of items on that list. There would be an opportunity to do some of the items on the list, and the board would have a chance to look at all of those items again and make a determination on what would be priority. We also talked in facilities, about using the full ARPA funds for this project, or using the ARPA funds for this project in its entirety, but we also said it would be okay if we did a share on that, using some of the building improvement funds and some of the ARPA dollars. But the first recommendation was that we use the ARPA funds.
How much is in the capital improvement funds?
So the capital improvement funds as of 11/14/2022 was at 936,252 is what we're at in that account. Now, we are paying for the professional services contract that we are currently in with Winseth out of that. We also have a project that was pre-approved, and we were waiting on the units to arrive that haven't been paid. The bills haven't been paid yet out of that account as well. So that total amount, you're roughly looking at 250,000 would be coming out of that as well. But we do have money budgeted going in there of 2023 as well. So, and that budget amount was, if the final budget gets approved, we'd be at 475,000 we would be adding to that budget
For 23?
for 23. Correct. So rough number would be, as of 2023, nothing else comes out, would be around 1.1 million.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, the ARPA requirements, this fits the ARPA requirements that they have set for the boundaries on this?
It does.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Discussion? If not, we've seen the board action for the Justice Center roof and rooftops projects for a bid totaling $1,510,069. Would be looking for a motion.
Just, if
Oh.
I may, Mr. Chair, the question in front of us is whether we would approve the bid now, right?
That's correct.
and nothing else on the funding.
Well, the funding
It's
would
part
be,
of the bid.
Are we deciding
we want to
both
do
here?
both right now, if we can.
Okay,
And Mr. Chair, this board action maybe could have had that as that option
it's
with
not
that
in the
listed.
board
Right.
action,
Correct.
so.
I apologize for that.
So moving forward, if you would take action on this board action, you would need to say your recommendation is with determining the
Appropriations
financial.
from this area and this
Yep.
area.
We would just add it as you
Yep.
stated.
Yep.
And Mr. Chair, if you're looking for a motion, I would make that motion using ARP funds.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion for the approval of the Justice Center roof and rooftop projects using ARPA funds for the total of $1,510,069. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Newman. Any further discussion?
Would ask for a roll call, please.
Sure can.
Commissioner Becker?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
I'm not opposed to the fixing of the roof. I am opposed to where the funding, all of the funding is coming from, because I do believe we should be using some of our capital improvement funds for that. So I will vote no.
And Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, carried. Thank you.
Written within,
Yes,
okay.
it will.
Okay, 6.2 Egg Society. Gary, are you presenting or somebody? Sorry about that. There was an add-on for that, Mike. Yeah.
No, the ag side, you wanna come forward? You got your resolutions with you?
You have one for Denise?
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chair, would you like them to read their,
I was just giving everybody a chance to look at them. Everybody had a chance to look and
Do you
review
guys
there
need
a
to
little
see
bit?
one of these, or?
Well, I'll need a record,
Okay.
so when you're done with them, I'll need one for public record.
And if one of you want to maybe make a presentation on one of the resolutions,
I guess I would, but we didn't have an extra copy, so I would like to
We
have
turned
a
those
copy of it.
resolutions in, so we thought you
We
had
don't
them.
have an extra copy of it, so
We,
I'd like to read it as we have it. The first one, I guess I will go with, continued impact to the facilities and to the grounds as part of the responsibility of Todd County Ag Society. An example is a relationship with Todd County Public Works for setup and takedown of grandstand events such as the demolition derby, truck, or tractor pull. And the solution to alleviate this, the Todd County Ag Society has purchased 75 cement barriers consisting of 2 by 2 by 6 foot. These would be used in place of a dirt berm. If we make a formal request to leave the cement barriers at the Todd County Fairgrounds, the Todd County Ag Society would retain ownership of them. The Todd County Ag Society assumes responsibility for placement for the events and storage after the event. The barriers would be placed inside and against the north grandstand fence. And what this is we hope that it'll save the county the money of the highway department coming in, building berms and that, and we would like to retain ownership of them, store them on the fairgrounds to save us the expense of hauling these 2,200 pound blocks out and bringing them back for the next event.
Okay, I'm gonna open it up to discussion first, if people have questions or,
I do. I know when at the last meeting, there was some discussion about other people who are renting the fairgrounds being able to use the cement barriers. Is that still open?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
As long as
Bike
they
and
stay on the
Trike or
fairgrounds.
whoever is renting the fairgrounds would have the opportunity to use them?
Absolutely.
Would there be any rent charge for them or any fees?
No, not as
Just
long as
replace
they're
them if they
used.
break them.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're asking.
Replace them if they break them, put them out, put them back, and as long as they stay in the fairgrounds, and, you know, I guess we would need approval to use them, but no reason why we couldn't let anybody use them on the fairgrounds.
okay. Any other questions, discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, can a Bobcat pick these up?
Yes.
Okay.
Not a small one.
Yeah, not a small
Bigger,
one.
yeah.
It has to be a good-sized bobcat.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna go back to a meeting date from
September 9th.
September 9th that was
Sixth, I'm sorry,
held
September
here
6th.
with Ag Society, that we were told that the cement barriers were being donated to the county, and that the county would then store them out there on the thing. So are we going back on our word, or changing our words, or?
We're not going back on our word. It was mistakenly said because there was no board action approving that from the Ag Society.
That was an option that could come forward, that if this was an agreement.
There were 3 board members here that day, I
Correct.
believe, or
Yes.
something of the sort. So I think it was well, you know, and since then, we've communicated with the Ag Society in regards to that and heard nothing different, so we're kind of
I have
hearing.
talked to 2 commissioners about that. There was no board action. Our board never voted on this, and we hadn't even paid for the barriers at that point yet, so they technically weren't even our barriers at that point.
And then my next question will go to the county auditor in the fact of storage of somebody else's stuff and insurance.
I do not believe the last time we set up all the lease agreements and we went through all of the facilities, we have notified others that they cannot store stuff there when they're not there.
And it becomes a
ends,
liability
yeah.
issue, if I'm not mistaken.
The liability issue, if, I'll give you an example, if kids are out there playing where they shouldn't, because I can't control kids. So it's summertime and they're running around, goofing around, and they get hurt and break an arm, jumping around on them, then it would come back on the county and be sued.
And I think we
And we'd have to
found
take care
out,
of all their medical bills.
I think we found out how nitpicky our insurance is when we just ran across a cut rope out on Battle Point recently.
Exactly. And
We
then I
also
also want to
have-
make a comment that we would have to, we're stating here in public record now that those are not donated barriers no longer. Is this correct? Because we have it of public record in the minutes that they donated them. So now we're rescinding that?
We definitely have it on record in public comment or in
Board
discussion
meeting discussion.
at a board meeting that those were donated. So,
It was misconstrued or misspoken that he doesn't have the authorization to do that without prior board approval, and it had never been brought before our board to do that.
Just so I have that right for public record. But then, yes, to your original question, no, we do not allow anybody storing anything on the fairgrounds once their event is over.
Is there some way we can come to kind of a compromise with this? Because I'm hearing, you know, what I'm hearing is you don't want to donate them to the county because you're afraid they might leave the fairgrounds site. What would happen if you left them donated to the county with the option of them not leaving the fairgrounds site? Is that a compromise that could happen or not?
There's a,
Can't say.
yeah, we really honestly, because
You
that would
know,
have to be a board
because
action.
then they would be covered by county insurance. You'd be guaranteed they'd be there when you needed them for the fair. You know, just giving out different,
The issue that the board has is when this was first brought up, it was brought to our attention at the meeting that if the county needs them and they're gonna be used, and if they're not there when we need them, that's tough luck. That was pretty much the gist of what was said at the,
Said to us.
at the
Yeah.
initial meeting. That's where we are having an issue.
Mr. Chair, if I could just clarify a little bit of that discussion. The conversation that we had through a facilities committee meeting was, in the event of an emergency, if we had some type of public emergency and we needed to use a barricade, we thought that was reasonable to be able to use the barricade and put it back. That was the conversation.
Yes, we did agree with that, but then when we said what would be the guarantee that they would be replaced back there, we got the comment that there was
No guarantee.
no guarantees.
So-
Mr. Chair, I think if there's an emergency, I think the county has the authority to take whatever they need to
Absolutely.
do what they need to do. Am I right, Mike? And if there's any damage, obviously the county would probably step forward and replace it. But if there is an emergency, I would think the county would have the authority to do.
And we had no
You know,
problem
and
with,
if, you know, whether you guys say yes or no, it doesn't matter if we need to take care of the emergency, so.
Absolutely. The only thing that we were worried about is them not coming back.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation that, an MOU be, set up for this, so there is an understanding, memorandum of understanding of the use and, placement, returning, and, making sure that, they are usable to the Ag Society, but also be, available for the county to use.
And Mr. Chair, could we have that drafted by the county attorney?
Glad to.
I think probably the biggest question then in my mind there then is, where does ownership fall?
Mr. Chair, the ownership and then the liability that goes with that.
Yes. Mr. County Attorney, do you have any input in regards to ownership and liability then?
No, I agree with what Denise said about the concerns, but whatever the parties agree to, that's what I'll put in the memorandum of understanding.
So our insurance that we carry on an annual basis, what I'm gathering is you guys are saying it's not gonna cover even though we insure all of our stuff at the fairgrounds, whether it's personal liability, someone gets hurt, so on and so forth.
is that insurance 12 months out of the year?
It
Or
is.
or is it
It
just
is.
during the fair?
no, 12 months.
12 months.
MCIT,
Gets hurt on your barriers.
Absolutely,
Your insurance is gonna
Yes.
cover it, not the county's.
absolutely. Ours is an annual. We switched that a year ago now because the premium was, it was just pennies difference versus just our events.
it's MICT too, ain't it?
Yep,
Yes.
it is MC. Yep.
Looking for ideas, Mr. Commissioners. Is there, I have one more comment, I guess. Is there any reason you didn't attend the Facilities Committee as requested at the last round so that we could have maybe have discussed this?
We have attended the meetings, not this last one, to,
We had work issues, nobody could make it.
What was that?
We had work issues, nobody could make it.
but we have attended them and gotten nowhere
Well, I think we had pretty good agreements.
on your end.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that we maybe table this till the county attorney comes back with a memorandum of understanding, and we can review that, and if we all agree to that, then we can move forward with entertaining a motion to adopt that.
Okay,
And could we schedule that for the next board meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
I would just need, contact information, who you'd like me to negotiate with.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
okay, so for the item pertaining to the barricades, it will be tabled until next meeting, the meeting of December
20th.
20th. Okay. And your other one?
Todd Expo Arena is an integral part of the Todd County Fairgrounds, whereas appreciation for the upgrades and remodeling for the existing building by Todd County Egg Society / Fair Board and attendees of this cultural tradition held each year. And whereas the overhead door in the east end of the Todd Expo Arena is misplaced and needs to be reinstalled to the existing prior to renovation. Todd County Egg Society is requesting that it be placed back to its original configuration. This would allow for enhanced air movement within the building and utilization of existing exhaust fan for healthier environment for exhibitors, exhibits, and spectators.
And again, I'm gonna open this up for discussion first. I will speak to this and openly state that we've had discussion with this at the Facilities Committee and talked about getting some research done on this, on whether or not this truly needs to be done or not. We're basically going off from an opinion from the Egg Society side. I don't know if Mitch stuck around or not, but.
He didn't.
And an opinion of others that feel like the airflow is not detained or changed by leaving the existing door the way it is. And we had talked about getting testing done on that to determine that before we make any changes. Is that your understanding from our meetings?
Kind of.
Kind of. What did I misstate?
But what I think, I have not been at a facilities committee meeting. I talked to Rod on the phone one day. Probably agree with Rod that changing the position of this door does not change how much air goes out that fan. But changing the position of the door that blocks, changes the airflow to that fan will take heat out of the building. We believe that if we put the door back to a 90-degree angle so the air above that door will all go out the door, we can also open the door all the way if we open it at a 90-degree angle. At the 45 it is now, we can't open that door, so we're losing that airflow to the east end of the Expo Arena. That's where we believe we'll increase some airflow and keep it more comfortable for the cattle and the people that are there during the fair. The other option is we can spend the money and do an airflow study and see if it does change. But if we spend the money for an airflow, it has to be done when all the cattle are in the building and the heat. That has to be done during the fair and that. And if we spend the money for an airflow study and it turns out that the door could be changed,
Should be changed.
we've wasted that money. Our opinion is that if we change the door, and as per request, when the Expo Arena was remodeled, the nets were put in to go below the door at a 90 feet, at a 90-degree angle. All we're doing is the cost of labor to put the 90-degree bend on rather than the 45 for the doors. It would be much cheaper and save the county money by just changing the door.
And the other thing is how do you do a proper smoke test, air test? If you have the door at a 45, you also would need to put it at a 90 to get the proper, so you're already changing it. The issue is we open the door only halfway, so we don't block the fan, but now you're not getting all the airflow going out the door, because the door is not opened fully like it was, or like it should be.
But it is open a very large area of it without interjecting or without interflecting in that fan. Because the fan only takes up about the first 3 feet
You only can open the door about halfway.
or 3/4 of the way.
No,
No,
can't
you
make three-quarters,
Can't
just
make
about half.
three-quarters, just about half.
And so the square foot area of that door open at that point will more than encumber all of the amount of air that's coming into that building for an exhaust going out of that building. The rest of it opening really does no factor on it whatsoever.
Well, if the door is open all the way, you'll get more airflow than if it's only open halfway. Just like your window in your house, if you only open the window halfway, you're only gonna get so much air to move through it.
There's
Mr.
a little
Chair.
bit more involved with that.
Just a little additional detail. We did get a quote on the cost of changing that door, and our next steps were to, which Mitch is working on this, to get a quote for doing that airflow test. So that's where we've left it with facilities.
I would also like to bring up a facilities meeting after the 2021 fair that Commissioner Becker was at, and I believe Commissioner Erickson, where we had talked about as long as the nets, because we were unsure if the nets were retrofitted to having it at a 90, that if it was, the nets were made to have it at a 90, it would be switched back. It was at a walkthrough with the facilities after the fair.
I believe you're correct on that.
And I don't recall that, but
And I don't have my minutes from those walkthroughs with me now, because I didn't know this was on the agenda.
So what would the cost of a study be for checking the air volume?
that's why I hope Mitch had stayed. I didn't know if he had had a chance to check into that or not, and they want the test done during the time when the cattle are there anyway, so you're not gonna get anything done for a while, but I can imagine it wouldn't be anywhere as close to what the door change cost was, 3,900.
Yep, it was close to 3,900, 3,885, something
But
like that.
if you have all the doors shut, you can check it that way and then open the doors and check it that way. I mean, I don't,
The difference would be when the cattle are there, you know, you've got all the boards up and the cattle in there, and
Right.
the heat and where the heat goes and that, would that,
heat rises.
heat rises, so.
And with the flow, with all the cattle and the boards in there, you're gonna change the flow going through versus a wide open building.
So that includes having the west doors open, right, along
Yep.
with these doors.
Yep.
And the louvers working.
And the
Right.
power louvers working.
Okay.
and the fa-
I don't know that you would find anyone to do the test for less than $3,000, a little bit of calling around that we have done.
Probably be a
I
lot
wouldn't have
more.
a clue.
My question, Mr. Chair, is if you change the angle of that door, does that conflict with anything else? Because I don't want to find out that we changed the door and then something can't go in or out or something. I'm just asking because
The
if
door
you
was
change,
always at a 90 before.
Yeah.
so there's no equipment that's,
Nope.
we're
No,
gonna find
if it
out
gets
6
through the
months from now.
door and the door's at a 90 versus a 45, that
The
won't
bottom
make
of the
any
door is
difference.
still lower.
Bottom is still gonna be low.
Just a question to ask,
Yep.
so we don't change something around and then have to change it around for,
I think the big point being is if we're making changes that don't constitute any gain for anyone is the big question.
okay.
And the only thing we can say is the difference that we have noticed in the last 2 years of the temperature in there. Actually, this last year, we tried running the air conditioning to get that cold air blowing down, and we paid dearly for that with the electric bill.
And I think you're misstating that because I believe your electric bill was less.
Oh, no. Nope, it was double than last year. Actually, it was double, just the electric bill was double what our total bill was last year, including
And is
water.
that just for just that building?
Yes.
Yep.
Or are you
So the-
looking at electric for your total
Nope.
fare?
So the expo building for the fair, there's 2 different meters. Just the main meter was $1,595.31, and that's what our total bill was last year for
Water, sewer.
water, sewer,
And
and
electric.
electric.
Looking for ideas.
Mr. Chair, through facilities, we had just asked to go through this process of the test. So it's not that the facilities committee wasn't doing anything with it. We were waiting on the test.
Correct.
2 years.
So when would the test be done? Not until the fair time, or
Well, that's
what?
first we've heard that, so.
Well, it would only make sense to do it when the animals and the boards are up, to prove the point of, because we've never argued, you still have the same amount of air moving through with the door fully up, but it's just the direction of the airflow itself from one end to the other.
I believe we've had no issues with anything overheating wise. Is that correct?
We haven't had any issues yet, but it's been very uncomfortable in that building.
Yes. And with
And
us
it's a lot
having-
different if you walk in and out of there and you're in there for 10, 15 minutes, whereas if you're in there taking care of your stuff all day long.
And us now hosting the Minnesota Shorthorn Association big show, some of those animals are $5,000 animals, and where's that cost come in if they die from overheat? I mean, that's what we're trying to prevent. By moving this garage door, we think it would prevent, and we would get our airflow back to what it was. Cooler temperatures.
We're not 100% sure of that.
There's only one thing that's changed with the difference in the temperature in that barn. That would change it, and it's restriction of air.
See, we have no documentation of what the airflow was before,
We have
Right.
Nothing,
you know?
nothing to go off
So
from.
now we're gonna do a test on airflow and try to. What
How
we're gonna
much-
do, take the door down, when they're doing the testing? Take that east door out of there, you know,
We were just gonna run it half, where it's not interfering with the fan airflow.
If they run the air test, they run it at a 45 and they determine what the airflow is. The only way they can determine what the airflow is at a 90 is to spend the
Drop it.
money, take the door off.
right?
Or spend the money and put it at a 90. And then when you're done with the test, if it's a difference, do you put it back? Or do you leave it at the 90 if it makes no difference? And so I guess my opinion, not the opinion of the Fair Board then, I'll state that why spend this money and check it? Why not just spend the money and change it and
done.
put it back to the way it was, where I believe the airflow was better when it was at a 90, and it did a better job of cooling. And maybe it did a better job of cooling when the door was at a 90. If you put the door all the way up at a 90, the fan takes the hot air out of the building, thereby cooling the building. If it's at a 45, it can't pull that hot air out of the building. It's gonna pull air from around that door. And that's my opinion, not Fair Board, but my opinion is it would do a much better job of cooling the building at a 90 the way it was originally than it does now.
What was the cost to redo the door? I did not write it down.
39.
3,800.
Yes, to change that angle, yes.
Well, the thing is, boards change, we change, Ag Society board changes. Who's not saying 5 years from now, the issue's gonna come back up again? So we're better off just getting the damn documentation and getting it over with. That way, we'll have the documentation, it'll satisfy both boards, and move on.
Looking for a motion.
I'll move the change the door back to original.
Motion by Knizel to change the door back to a 90-degree angle.
Without a test?
Without a test.
Documentation.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, and
Second by Becker.
I'll also add, at the time when we were working on the bids for the expo building, it was brought up to have that door put at a 90-degree, and I believe it was put straight up and down because they didn't know how the hockey nets are going to fit around that door, and now the hockey nets will fit around that door, so I'll do the second to get it changed back.
Motion and a second to make the changes to the door at the Expo building. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to ask, are we 100% sure of the cost?
Yes.
The
Well,
the
Well,
cost
that's-
is between $3,800 and $3,900. I don't have the exact dollar amount with
And
me.
when was that cost gotten?
And that was a quote that was received, I believe it was last winter, so that cost may have
Yeah, I was
changed.
gonna say, because inflation's probably gonna eat a little bit of that up. And where would this money come from?
that's both facilities.
Facilities.
Does Ag Society have any money that they could lend towards that project or not? I know you were able to write grants for livestock buildings and so forth.
We could check into it.
But
The
we can't make that
appropriations.
determination
Yep.
right now.
So we're maybe talking $4,000, maybe a little more than $4,000.
Right, and the cost to replace this door, my thought is, it would be changed from a 45-degree angle on that track to put a 90 in, and then reinstall hangers. So most of this cost to fix this would be a labor thing. You know,
Right,
there's
right.
no change in the door, it's
Right.
changing the track, and most of the track should be reusable just to change the hangers.
But when you're changing something, usually you run into issues, so,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Did we determine what fund this is coming from?
Well, at this time, I would say it would be facilities.
The facilities
Oh, there's the
and,
fairgrounds appropriation.
I'd say
I need-
facilities.
Okay. I just need to know for record, because we need a fund account that we're gonna be paying the bill out of.
Okay, any other discussion? Not, roll call?
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker,
Yes,
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson.
No. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Sure. Take a 5-minute break here, quick. Well, there, we just threw every meaning of having any subcommittee meetings whatsoever right out the window.
What's that, Rod?
I said we just threw everything of
I
having
know.
any kind of subcommittees right out the window.
I know.
So just bring whatever you want forward.
Yeah, I know.
It's a crock. Continue on with the agenda. We have emergency management. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. I'm presenting to you a hazard mitigation, it's called the Hull Hazard Mitigation Grant. And we did this 5 years ago, and it's contracted with the state. But every 5 years, FEMA requires Todd County to update all hazard mitigation plan. Todd County plan expires October 15th, 2023. Resolution is to assure that Todd County will participate in the planning process and make county staff and time available to assist in its update. Also provide authorization for emergency management to execute and sign grant applications. Please see attached resolution. There's also a letter of commitment of funds, and the hazard mitigation plan application is also included in the packet. If you want, I could read the resolution.
Yeah, go ahead if you want. Is it long? No?
Yes.
Anybody want the resolution read?
No.
We could read
Okay,
it.
so I'll just kind of give you a high overview. Basically, is this gives one is as I stated is be able to use county staff. This is part of the matching portion or the in-kind matching portion of the grant. The state is actually handling the grant and handling the contractor to assist in updating it. The grant total that they is $52,000 for the update to the hazard mitigation plan. The federal portion of that is $39,000, and our in-kind local match would be $13,000. So what this is basically saying that I can go ahead and execute this and start the process. It will be you'll be getting letters to find out who would be willing to be on the hazard mitigation team as we go through and update our plan. And this is, Commissioner Newman, this is the lake too that I discussed with you. They have, that we need to make sure we get the contact names that have them part of that planning team too. Because the hazard mitigation funds are for, you know, mitigating hazards that are present and are threatening to our county.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the resolution for the adoption of the all hazard mitigation plan and participation there within. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion.
Just one question, Mr. Chair, under budgeted. This is a grant that we would receive, am I correct?
This is the grant that the state receives, and they would be executing the grant. If we're executing, saying we're committed to the in-kind match,
Okay.
which
so-
is...
So do we get any actual money from this?
We don't get any actual money
Okay,
from
that's
this.
what I was wondering, because it says not budgeted, so I was wondering if we got money, why it wasn't
Yeah,
in the
so,
budget.
so it's, yeah, it's kind of the state is actually the financier of it. We're
Okay.
just doing the
All right,
in-kind match.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Sheriff?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. One item today here, and that is the return to former position with Chief Deputy Lonnie Marcy's. Background is Chief Deputy Lonnie Marcy's request to move back to his sergeant position effective January 2nd, 2023. Marcy's was appointed Chief Deputy on January 8th, 2019. Todd County has an MOU with LELS, Law Enforcement Labor Services, which states the Chief Deputy shall return to his former position if available. There will be an open sergeant's position available January 2nd, 2023. Options is to approve Lonnie returning to his former position, or two, not to approve. Recommendation is to approve his return to his former position, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the return to the former position for Lonnie Marcy's. Looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question before we
Sure.
continue. It says to put him back to his former position, but are we setting a salary that is the salary set for him? Or is there just gonna be discussion on his salary, or how is that fixed?
Mr. Chair, I'd have to take a look at that specifically to see how that MOU is worded, but it would go back to the sergeant's salary, which is, I believe, a grade 11. And then we would look at where Lonnie was within that grade 11.
So his experience since then would count toward his salary of increases, or no?
I was at the top sergeant pay prior to becoming the chief deputy.
Okay.
So then that's where he would return, at
Okay.
that grade 11, step 9.
All right. I didn't know if we should do that in the board action, so it's official, or if that's just left out and,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Kircher, we certainly can do that if you would like to have that as part of that.
I don't know what protocol is. Is HR here? No?
Sarah's
Oh, Sarah's here?
Yeah.
What,
Moved.
I mean, that can be mentioned in the board action, that it is a grade 11, step 9, that he'll move back to.
I just want to make sure that everything is clear after this, so there ain't any dissension upon what's going on here. So-
Thank you. We will add that.
Discussion? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Knizel. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Health and Human Services.
Mr. Chair, Jackie is not available today, so I have her second item on the agenda, and Northern Pines, if you'd like to just come
Oh.
forward.
Sure. Update from Northern Pines Mental Health Center. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Laura Vaughn. I am the Executive Director for Northern Pines Mental Health Center. I have been the Executive Director for 7 years now. It's hard to believe, and been with Northern Pines for 10 years. And on behalf of our Northern Pines Board of Directors and myself, I just want to thank you for the continued partnership that we have with Todd County in providing mental health services. I think first and foremost, if we start with gratitude, that's a really good place to start. I'm also very happy to announce that the contracts with Todd County have been reduced over this last year. And so there is less of a burden on the Todd County. I'm sorry, I just put a Tic Tac in my mouth so I wouldn't start coughing. And so now I'm choking on the Tic Tac. It's hard being me sometimes. I'm really sorry about that. So I'll try and chew that up really quickly. There are a couple of reasons for this. One is those monies, is my understanding, and I wish Jackie were able to hear, I think she should explain this, but it's my understanding that there will be more money than for social workers to work with law enforcement in your county, which I think is an amazing and wonderful forward-moving idea to help with mental health and law enforcement. I would also say that Northern Pines has put some things into place that have helped reduce our contracts overall to not burden the counties as much. And so we have grants that help fund clients who cannot pay for all of their services. We also have then, we work pretty strongly with our clients for them to partner. We know in mental health that if people partner with their payments, that actually the mental health therapies are more effective. And so that has been really a wonderful thing. We have a sliding fee scale for those who cannot pay, and we also have payment plans so that people can pay as little as $10 to $20 a month and just keep chipping away at their bill. And as long as they stay on with those payments, then that helps us to partner long-term to work with them. And then we use county funding then as a payment of last resort. What we are finding, we have 9 MNsure navigators, so when people come and have no insurance, that number is reducing significantly throughout all of our counties, and that is very helpful. The problem we still find is that deductibles now are so high that folks have trouble meeting that deductible, and it is very difficult. I think about children in particular. If a child breaks their arm, you're not gonna not go to the emergency room. You can't just let them not have that. However, if your child has mental health issues and they are struggling in school or at home, it's pretty easy to say, well, we're not gonna go to a therapist. And so we feel a great responsibility to be able to partner with people so that they don't say, sorry, you can't see your therapist this week. That isn't as important as putting food on our table and doing some other things. So we've worked really hard at this over the last 6 years, and I'm proud to say that our contracts are actually reducing with the counties. That doesn't mean that our services aren't being partnered. That remains the same. So in terms of targeted case management, in terms of mobile crisis outreach, therapy, we do, and in the schools. And actually, Kate Sullivan, our operations director, is here, and she'll speak just a little bit more about the specifics of where, what's changing and what's been going well for Northern Pines. So helping people meet their deductibles. I just wanted to talk a little bit to keep you informed about what's happening on the national level for mental health. So I've said this a couple of times, but I know you don't have to keep up with this. Northern Pines is now what is called a CCBHC, a Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic. With that, we were one of the very first states. Minnesota was one of the first 8 demonstration states, and Northern Pines was one of the first 6 agencies in the state to be able to provide this service. And really, to boil it down, it's about integrated care. So making sure that somebody who has a therapist may also have an arms worker, and that those therapists and arms worker are speaking with the client so that they all are on the same page about their treatment. And we have found statistically just really increased improvement with people's symptoms and actual recovery. So it's a great model of care. Being a part of the demonstration has allowed for the way it was set up. There are matched funds for the state. So there's a 90% match that the federal government brings into the state of Minnesota for all of the funds that we draw down at Northern Pines and the 5 others that are in this demonstration project. Minnesota DHS, in its infinite wisdom, I said that with high sarcasm if you couldn't check, they have decided to pull out of the demonstration even though it's been extended to 2025. And the effect of that is not on Northern Pines. We would remain because there is a state plan amendment that would make this model of care law. However, what it does do is it leaves $100 million off the table for the state of Minnesota. And so right now, even yesterday, I was a part of our association meeting with those demonstration and the governor's office, because we feel this is a terrible decision for the state of Minnesota. Those monies do go to the general fund. And even though we are in a budget surplus for the state of Minnesota, $100 million is a lot of money to not draw down for the people of the state. So in case you hear about this, we have now drafted and sent a letter to the state of Minnesota, the governor's office, to discuss our displeasure with this decision and try to overturn that decision if we can. I think that's all I have. I will entertain questions if you'd like to now, or we could move to Kate Sullivan, Director of Operations.
If I may, Mr. Chair, in Laura's statement with the state declining to participate in this program, I would ask that you contact your local legislators to make them aware of this situation. We got in this same predicament, if you remember, during county-based purchasing, where DHS made a decision and the legislators weren't even aware of it, had a big impact on some of us counties. And this is the same situation with them making a decision that is really harmful to the state of, and not taking advantage of some funding that the federal government is offering. So,
That's right. Yeah.
so I just urge you to contact your legislators.
Thank you. Thank you. And if if the commissioners would like, I will share my letter that will go to our local legislators. If you wanted to piggyback on that to move that forward, I have a letter that is drafted by our association, so it pretty clearly spells it out, that I will be sending to local legislators. But
If you could email it to Chris,
excellent.
then she could distribute it to us.
Chris, I will look for your email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Kate Sullivan, and I'm the Director of Operations for Northern Pines. Today, I sit before you proudly just to give you a little maybe recap or rundown of the great work being done right here in your community. Our school-based services are thriving. We serve more children now than ever before. I think we all anticipated this happening after the pandemic, and so that part is not great news that more children are needing services. However, the great news is that the services are there right in the schools in Todd County. So school-based services are going really well. We provide therapy and skills inside the schools. So parents, it's not a burden on parents to have their child receive those services. They don't have to come pick them up and take them somewhere. They receive those mental health services right there at the schools. I'm really proud to say that psychiatry in our psychiatry department, as Laura spoke about integrated consultation, we had a psychiatrist who was providing services for one of our clients. She did not work for Northern Pines, the psychiatrist, at APRN, so advanced practice nurse, or advanced nurse practitioner. She attended one of our integrated consults and just thought it was amazing, that whole model of integrated care, contacted us and has now accepted a job offer, and she will be starting in January. So we have a new provider coming on, as well as we just hired our first bilingual LPN. So she is going to be the supports for our psychiatry department. We have a new position that we actually started here in Long Prairie schools. It's a behavioral interventionist. We've had this position at your school in Long Prairie, and the schools in Long Prairie, for approximately 5 or 6 years. And it's such a great success that we've had other counties now come forward and school districts asking for this position. So it's a shared position where they're part Northern Pines. They're our full-time employee, but they kind of work half-time for us and work half-time for the schools, and they're getting into those general ed classes and really talking about mental health and what to look for and what some students can do. So it's an incredible thing that we started here, and many, many school districts now are taking advantage of that service with us. So those are some of the great things that are going on. One of our challenges really always continues to be workforce. It's a workforce shortage. As we know, many of us are feeling that same thing. We consider ourselves a training facility, so to say, because there's often times where we'll have somebody come and work for us, and then other like startup companies are opening up now in our communities, really particularly focusing on telehealth. And so that tends to kind of lure people or lure some of our professionals towards that way. The great news is that they still are, these startup companies are still right here within our communities. It's just a little bit more of a challenge for us. We have a hybrid model, and we believe that that is the best practice. And that really goes by, we give the client the option of telehealth services or face-to-face. So we're not full-on telehealth or face-to-face, but we do a hybrid. And that's really then for the client to choose which of those is best for them. So again, we continue our efforts to meet the needs of the communities that we serve, and we thank you for the opportunity to be your mental health provider. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners, comments?
I have a comment. I think these two are two of the greatest leaders we have in the organization, and they lead very strongly and with a lot of enthusiasm. I sit on this board, and I've enjoyed it for a number of years, and it's just a pleasure to see these two work. When they go to board meetings, they actually get the board excited and get us into involving in things, and the services that they provide, I think, are just wonderful. They know that I bring the perspective of jails and law enforcement, so they kind of tap my brain once in a while. It's kind of getting old in that old method, but it's they still try to tap it once in a while. But I just enjoy this board, and I think it's they provide a great service. And you guys know mental health is a big issue in our jails, and I'm always asking Laura how we can address that more and work with that more. And she's certainly been out there contacting sheriffs and trying to work with them. So.
Yeah, we have some exciting things coming in 2023 that our board hasn't fully approved yet, but we look forward to coming back, hopefully maybe first quarter of 2023, to tell you a little bit about what's going on and what we're piloting.
Right. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I put your name on my. Oh, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have this next board action to present on behalf of Jackie Ock. So this is approve salary adjustment for CHS rotating administrator. And the background for this is the Director of Todd County Health and Human Services will act as the 2023 and 2024 CHS administrator for the Morrison-Todd-Wadena Community Health Board. In return for the services, the Morrison-Todd-Wadena Community Health Board member counties shall reimburse Todd County in the amount of $1,000 per county per year. And the options are to approve the salary adjustment for the CHS rotating administrator for calendar years 23 and 24, or not approve, and the recommendation is to approve.
Okay, you've seen the board action to approve the salary adjustment for the CHS rotating administrator position. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we haven't met in like, what, 3 years?
To tell you the truth,
Years?
Randy, we just had a meeting, and they were talking about, since COVID, we haven't met, and about trying to get a spring meeting, or to get the commissioners all there again.
Because didn't we meet like twice a year?
They went to once a
They
year.
went to once a year, usually in the spring.
Barb and I sat on the
Yeah.
executive committee, and they haven't met for a long time. So
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I think, was the first time they
Right.
met. And I was gone, but Barb went, I'm sure, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so at that meeting, we did have the discussion of having a group meeting with the commissioners again.
Well, it's good to have with the other two counties, so,
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah.
Any other discussion? Whoops, sorry, Barb. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a board action this morning. The first board action is to set the 2023 non-union and appointed officials' salaries. The background is the Todd County Board of Commissioners' desire to set salaries for appointed positions and employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. The wage recommendations on the attached resolution have been reviewed by Personnel Committee and have been budgeted for 2023. And the options are to approve the resolution setting the 2023 non-union and appointed official salaries, or do not approve, and the recommendation is to approve. If you'd like, I can read that resolution. It's pretty short. Whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners are responsible for setting the compensation of county employees, elected officials, appointed officials, and board members, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners desire to follow the same pattern bargained with unions for the non-union county employees and appointed officials, and whereas the agreements include a 2.5% general increase effective the first full pay period worked in January 2023, pay date January 25th, 2023, and a 3% step increase effective the first full pay period worked in July 2023, pay date July 26th of 2023 for eligible staff. Staff currently over the maximum of the salary grid shall receive a 1.25 one-half general increase effective the full first pay period worked in January of 2023, pay date January 25th in accordance with county policy. Now therefore be it resolved that the Todd County Board of Commissioners authorize a 2.5% general increase effective the first full pay period worked in January of 2023, pay date January 25th, 2023, and a 3% step increase effective the first full pay period worked in July 2023 and a pay date July 26, 2023 for eligible staff. Staff currently over the maximum of the salary grid shall receive a 1.25% effective the first full pay period worked in January of 2023, pay date January 25 of 2023 in accordance with county policy. I apologize, that was longer than I thought.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the resolution for the non-union and appointed official salaries. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion?
Yes, I would. And Chris and I had this discussion before the board meeting. If you can explain that 1.25 over, where does that come in?
Sure. So the staff currently paid over the maximum of the salary grid would be staff who, when we went through the Springstead study, whose salaries were above where they would be currently placed on that Springstead study. So those who are over that would get the 1.25.
Okay. And when I read it, I had some confusion on it, and that's why I asked Kristen.
It's actually
clarify
half of the original increase, or the 2.5,
Yes.
so.
Yep. It's kind of a catch-up status or a
Yep.
catch-down status, if you want to call it that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. So the next board actions that I have for you, board actions and resolutions, are to set the salaries of the elected officials. We will start with establishing the 2023 county commissioner's salary. And the background is to establish and set the 2023 salary for county commissioners. So this is done in a different manner than what we just went through for the non-union and the appointed, because these, through Minnesota statutes, the salaries of elected officials are set based on their responsibilities, their duties, their performance, and things not specifically based on the pay system. So with the commissioners, you all have information in front of you that shows what the 2022 commissioner wages were, salaries were. You have comparable counties in front of you. You have information regarding what has been budgeted for 2023, and the amount that has been budgeted for commissioners for 2023 is $34,228. That represents a 2.5% increase to the current salary.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask a question.
Sure.
Are we aware of the other counties paying their chair and vice chair increases above their regular salary? I mean,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Kircher, I have some of that information on the sheet in front of you where it says the chair, vice chair stipend. Is that what you
Right,
were referring
right.
to? Yep. So we have some of that. We don't have all of that collective
front of me.
data. Yeah. that's
didn't
all
see
right.
that.
That's okay.
So there's just a few of them that do that.
And there may be a couple more. We don't have 100% of that information, but this is the information that we could gather for today. So some do, some don't. Some do per diems. Todd County doesn't do the per diem or hasn't, and we do the stipend for the chair and the vice chair.
Okay, You have seen the resolution for the 2023 County Commissioner salary.
I'll make the motion for the 2.5% increase.
Okay, Kneisel makes a motion with the 2.5% increase. Do we need that dollar number in that blank?
228 is what it says here, I guess.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion.
That dollar amount, you could repeat aloud, I don't have that data.
I don't have it right in front of me. Hang on a
I
second.
have it now.
That's
Yeah, we do.
34,200.
34,228, I believe is the correct number. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yep.
You include the stipend in that,
And the stipend is in the resolution.
is it?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's
All right,
a
sorry.
$1,800 supplemental pay for board chair and $1,200 supplemental for vice chair.
Okay.
You have all the proper numbers?
I do, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The next board action and resolution that we have is to establish the 2023 county attorney salary. So with all of the elected officials, including the county attorney, we have requested them to provide some information about their performance, their duties, and qualifications. That information has been provided by John and our current county attorney, and that information has also been provided to you. You've been provided with comparable counties information. You have what was currently budgeted for 2023, and I'm going to let John take it from here and provide his request.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Chair, I assume that everybody has read the email that I sent to Chris in response to her request to submit something in support of the request. As I said in that email, I wanted to keep this simple. The amount of salary that was budgeted for 2023 is all that I'm seeking. Nothing more, nothing less. If you think back to August, when I was appointed as the interim county attorney, there was no real discussion or debate about what my interim salary would be. I think the understanding on both sides was, let's see what this guy can do. And I hope that you agree that in the last 5 months, my performance as interim county attorney has exceeded expectations and justified the request that I'm making today, which is pay me exactly what is budgeted for 2023. It's my understanding that Chris emailed some comparable attorney wage information. These are counties of similar size. I have a little bit of information about the respective years of experience that each of these county attorneys have, and as well as the full-time staff in each of those offices. So without saying any more, I'd ask the board if they have any questions of me before making this decision.
So move for his request.
Okay, we have motion by Kircher, second by Newman, to fulfill the request with the budgeted amount for 2023.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, the budgeted amount is $126,619.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, the reason I'm making that motion, he's done more in the last 5 months than I've seen in 16 years, so thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray.
And I'm hearing that from the public also.
Very,
so
very impressed with
Thank
what you've
you.
done, John.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The next item that we have is to establish the 2023 County Auditor Treasurer salary. And same information has been provided to you from myself for the Auditor Treasurer. She provided information to me that was passed on to you. You have the comparable county data. You have what has been budgeted within the 2023, within the budget. And I'm going to let Denise take it over from here.
And I have the same information that I gave you, that I gave Chris, that talks about my duties and responsibilities. My performance measures was all listed in that email, as well as, let me get to the next page. Experience, qualifications, and other pertinent information. And so I am just asking for the budgeted amount that I had budgeted for in our process of the 2023 at $100,682. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but that's just what's budgeted.
Okay, you've seen the requested amount for the county auditor treasurer position. Looking for a motion.
I will move the 100,682 request.
Thank you for stating that. Okay, we have a motion for the request for the budgeted amount for 2023. Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, when I was down at AMC earlier this week, I had a lot of counties ask me what our levy was set at, and when I told them 0.23%, they looked at me and said, how did you guys achieve that? You know, we're at 5, 6, 8. And I said, with the creation of the finance committee, working with the department heads, I said, that's how we got there. That's how we achieved that goal. And a lot of the other counties were like, wow, you know, we need to look at ours a little closer. So, like I said, the Auditor Treasurer's Office did a fantastic job of bringing, keeping that levy in check, and she should be rewarded for that. Her and her staff have done an excellent job, so.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have, the next one is the board action and resolution to establish the 2023 county recorder salary. Same information has been provided. Kim has shared information about her performance, her background, her qualifications. You have all of that. You have the comparable counties information plus the budgeted salary for 2023. And I'll let Kim go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
Like I said, or Chris said, we do have that budgeted. Being the new kid on the block, I guess I would be open for any questions if you have any.
There's questions? Otherwise, your request is for the 67,000, is that correct, Kim? Looking for a motion, commissioners.
So move for her request of 67,000.
Okay, motion by Kircher for the request for the budgeted amount of 67,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion?
Thank you for filing.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks.
And the final board action and resolution regarding the elected official salaries is the, establish the 2023 county sheriff's salary. I have the same information that was submitted by our newly elected sheriff, Mike Allen, and he provided that information. I passed it on. You have comparable county information. You have what is budgeted within the sheriff's office for 2023. The newly elected sheriff did not specifically provide a salary amount for 2023 in his written request, and I will let Mike just take it from here.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Mike.
Prior to getting the information, I didn't know what the salary would be. But now I have a working knowledge of what the budget is for that position and comparables, and I just opened it up for the council to the commissioners to give me a fair and equitable salary based on that information.
Okay.
We got one concern, he worked at a newspaper office, I don't know what that,
And as you can see, the newspaper business went in the toilet, so.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why we're here.
I just saw that, I wonder what in the heck? So what, I'm not sure here, what's his request? None, or what?
Whatever we decide.
Oh,
There's not a specific dollar amount requested. In January of 2022, the commissioners needed to set a minimum salary, and that salary was set at $100,000. And just as a point of reference, you cannot go below, the commissioners cannot set a salary below that 100,000.
I would move, Mr. Chair, that we go to 102,500 for a 2.5% increase. And the reason I do that is, you know, Mike is new, coming into the sheriff's office. Well, he's been there, but just to go into management, he's got a big job ahead of him. He's got a big learning curve. So I think that would be fair for him to get a 2.5% increase over the minimum wage, which would be 102,500.
Is that as a motion, Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion for an amount of $102,500 from Commissioner Kircher. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kneisel.
Congratulations.
Discussion.
everyone.
I'm sorry. didn't
I
mean
just
to-
congratulate him on when I
Yeah.
haven't been able to
I
talk
didn't
to
bring
him.
the newspaper thing into account when I made that decision.
I appreciate that, sir.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I was looking more at the middle, you know, like 107,000, so. My reasoning behind that is lately we've been starting our sheriffs out really low, and it's hard to play catch-up with the other counties, so.
Okay. We'll have to run this motion through first.
Yep.
And see what happens. Would you like a roll call?
Then we need roll call, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
We'll have Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
No.
and Commissioner Becker,
I'm gonna say no, because I would like to see a little bit higher salary.
and Erickson.
That's the fun part of being chair.
Yeah. Yep. I'm going to say no also, and would like to see that boosted up a little bit. The only reason I'm gonna say that is I think it'd be nicer to start a little bit closer so that we don't see huge increases later on. It's much nicer to move up gradual than we would be if we were going from the way low to the way high, or moving up and trying to play catch-up, so.
So, Mr. Chair, and some of my reasoning is if I look at the county assessor with Commissioner Kircher's proposal, them two would be making the same money. And I'm a little concerned about that because the sheriff is the head of our law enforcement. Him and his staff put their life on the line every day for us. So,
But I don't disagree with that, but I guess what I take into account, is that fair to the past sheriffs that we haven't brought up to market? You know, here we sit with a brand-new sheriff, and congratulations, he's coming into a new position, but, you know, how did we treat the other sheriffs when they were sheriffs? With Steve Ock, we never brought him up to market, and, I mean, I'm fine with what you're proposing, but I just think in fairness, that's why I was saying you can gradually work Mike up to that market value,
Mr. Newman, do you have a?
I'll make that motion at 107,000.
Okay, we have a motion by Newman for 107,000. Is there a second?
I'll do the second.
Okay, we have a second by Becker. And for record's sake, we'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker. Yes. Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher.
I still think about that newspaper thing, and I'm, yes.
Understood.
Commissioner Erickson.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I have the three amended items, or actually Sarah does. Go ahead, Sarah. Your name is on it.
So we have contracts. The first contract we're discussing is the LELS road deputy contract. Background being the Todd County negotiations team met with the LALS union representatives, and we've reached an agreement through arbitration. Highlights of the agreement include a change to health insurance coverage to SMART plans with the elimination of the low deductible plan in 2023. The county will continue to have a strong premium cost sharing. There will be a 3% general wage increase for 2022, 2023, and 2024. The recommendations being, or your options are to adopt the LALS contract or do not adopt the LALS contract with the recommendation to adopt the LALS Road Deputy Unit Collective Bargaining Agreement for 2022 to 2024.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the 2022 to 2024 LELS Road Deputy Contract. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, how does this fit into our budget?
There was a reduction in our, I shouldn't say there was a reduction. We had anticipated a 10% increase in our health insurance. That actually came in at a 9% increase. So some of that will be offset. Some of this 0.5% over will be offset by that cost savings. There's also within the sheriff's office budget, they will be able to support this change.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'm sorry I didn't ask, but you don't need a roll call on these, correct?
If you don't need
Okay.
one, I don't need one.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta go over here, because she's got a bunch of them, I thought.
Hit the second one, there you go.
Yeah. Sorry about
There you
that.
go. The next board action form we have is the 2022 to 2024 Teamster Sheriff Supervisors Contract. Thank you. Background being that Todd County's negotiation team met with the Sheriff Supervisors Union representatives, and we've reached a tentative agreement. The highlights to the agreement are the same as in LALS. We switched to SMART plans. We eliminated the low deductible plan. The county will continue to have a good cost sharing with health insurance, and there is a 3% general wage increase for 2022, 2023, and 2024. Your options being to accept this, adopt this tentative agreement for the sheriff's supervisor's contract, or number two, do not adopt, with the recommendation being to adopt.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the 2022 to 2024 Teamster Sheriff Supervisor Contract. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second? There's
I'll second.
Second by Knizel. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The third board action form I have for you is the 2022-2024 Teamsters Jail Dispatch Contract. Background being the same. Negotiations team met with jail dispatch unit representatives, reached a tentative agreement, have a good change to health insurance plan with strong cost sharing, eliminating the low deductible plan for 2023, and then a 3% general wage increase for 2022, 2023, and 2024. Options being to adopt this tentative agreement for jail dispatch contract or do not adopt, with the recommendation being to adopt.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the 2022 to 2024 Teamsters Jail Dispatch Contract. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just want to thank the negotiating team for working these contracts out and getting it done.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
At this time, do I need to end this meeting? No, not end this meeting. We're just gonna enter into a closed session. The commissioners will hold a closed session pursuant to the Minnesota statute 13D.05 for the purpose of evaluating the performance of an individual subject to the board's authority.
You'll need a motion to reopen.
We need a motion to reopen the meeting,
Yep.
and are we good to go? So I look for a motion to reopen the regular board meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. And then basically, you're just looking now for a statement that we've concluded or ended the closed session, and the outcome of the closed session was a satisfactory evaluation for the person that we were evaluating.
Thank you.
And with that, it looks like we move on to reports. Is that correct? We don't have anything else on the regular agenda?
That is correct.
Okay, so auditor treasurer.
The only thing I have to report is that I enjoyed my time at AMC with the other commissioners that attended. I learned a lot from the sessions, which was very helpful. Auditors will be here next week. I think there'll be 2 or 3 days that they'll be on site prepping for the audit in March. So they've been pulling a lot of information from my office. And just a heads up that the end of December, I had a phone call, well, we'll be coming at the end of December, but a week ago or so, I had a phone call from Moody Investments, which is our credit ranking. And I know you've asked about it before, Dave, and we're currently at a AA3. And when they have gone through all of our, and she had an email that was 2 pages long of requirements of what they looked at in all our financials and our audit, and her and I had an hour-long online Zoom meeting asking questions, department-wise, fund-wise, just really interrogated all of our policies, kind of like going through an audit a second time. But she would be taking our ranking or rating, credit rating, to a full board, their board. And it looked like at the time, we will be going up from a AA3 to a AA2, which is really good. She says the way we stand right now, we would really be going to a AA1. We'd actually be jumping 2 rankings. She is probably not going to advise that just due to the upcoming year of inflation and don't know where things are standing. She doesn't want to put us in a bad situation. But she was very elated. Then I received an email from her saying that everything is confirmed. We will be doing another Zoom at the end of December, and then she will be actually sending out a publication that will go in our public newspapers about how we ranked and where our credit score is. So I was very pleased with that. She was very, very pleased with our financials. She said, I'm doing a lot of counties, and she says, I can't say enough. I'm just astonished on how well Todd County is doing, and she's very proud of us. So I just wanted to share that because I thought that was a good boost for Todd County. And it's nice to know where our credit rating is. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. County attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We can report that the number of criminal cases in our office this year is now almost 100 more than last year. Last year was a busy year. Been even busier. We're still dealing with drug issues, and as the board knows, I'm handling more county department issues than our office ever has, and so I'm keeping busy doing that, and I'm glad to do it. I appreciate all the calls from department heads seeking legal counsel for the various things that come up. I can also report that the diversion type program that we've talked about for months, it's TIDA, the Todd Integrated Dispositional Alternatives, is starting up in earnest. As the board is aware, someone was hired in social services to take charge of that, and we're meeting, and we have forms established now, and we're actually going to start handling people, real live people, for this type of program, and I think it's going to be a great success. And I thought of that often when the Northern Pines folks were here today making their presentation, because they're going to be partners in that program as well. Other than that, we do have one of the assistants in our office at the Minnesota County Attorneys Association meeting that I couldn't attend this week. He's taking good notes. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Kneisel.
I don't have nothing to enjoyed myself in the cities at the AMC and
Okay.
last hurrah, so. They gave a sticker that said retiring instead of loser, so.
Well, hey, that's a plus.
Yeah.
Did you see any of them walking around that said losers or not? No.
It didn't say mandatory retiring, did it?
Well, good. I think, wow, that's kind of proud to wear it almost, huh?
They should be retiring, huh?
Nice. Nice. Commissioner Newman.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I had 14 meetings in November, board meeting, work session, Central Minnesota Council on Aging, we're still meeting in Zoom, hopefully we'll go to in-person down in Sartell coming up, hopefully. On the 9th, department head meeting, the 10th, soil and water, solid waste, Rainbow Rider, 15th, board meeting, work session. On the 21st, we had a JD2 meeting on Miller's Bay. The watershed come back with a $365,000 study, which a couple of us commissioners, I thought we were gonna have coronaries with. So that's still in discussion. 28th, I had CPT, and then come back and had public health in Burrville. And let's see, on the 29th, personnel and finance. And then at AMC, I did run across one that caught my eye, and it was called Shoreline Management and Natural Shorelines. And it says Minnesota's in trouble with the situation is urgent. We are losing lakeshore, and what people are doing is they're starting to riprap, and it's not natural. So it's creating an issue and problem, so it's something maybe we should look at in 2023. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Awesome. I would just like to take a minute and thank you for the flowers for my wife. She is at home and doing well. So, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Okay. I attended the CHB meeting, and like was stated during the meeting, we were trying to set up a date where all the commissioners can meet again, and we haven't done that since COVID. We had facility safety, corrections meeting, finished the negotiations, facility. I attended the Mississippi watershed. We had a public health meeting, solid waste design, attended the AMC conference, and last night I had Region 5, and I did bring along their annual report if anyone would like to look at it.
Commissioner Kircher.
I did not attend the AMC conference because I didn't want a sticker saying
Loser.
retiring, so I didn't go. Actually, we had an Economic Development Board meeting on Monday night, which we had a good discussion with. Gary was at the AMC conference, so he didn't be there. Actually, I didn't attend the last board meeting because I was in Florida with my family, so enjoyed a good trip there. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And coordinators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also attended the AMC conference. Really had a lot of great seminars that other counties had presented, some great takeaways from those seminars and things that we can apply here. Very happy to say that the negotiations are now complete with the board actions that were taken today. Glad that's done. I attended various committees since the last board meeting on November 15th, and I will provide more detail of that with the next board meeting. I did attend the childcare meeting that was set up yesterday, and with Rick Utek and some of the Economic Development Board, and there's some really good conversation taking place with that, so hopefully more to come.
Okay. And with that, we will recess until the 20th. We will start our work.
Good?
All right.
Yep.
We will start the board work session for the Board of Commissioners. Today's date, Friday, December 9th, 2022. Time is 11:17 a.m. And with that, we will be interviewing candidates for the Personnel Board of Appeals. So if we want to bring in a candidate, I would guess, correct?
Yep, I will bring in Dan Hughes.
Okay.
Can't hear us out there, can they?
Mind if I approach?
Yeah, absolutely. No, welcome.
Gary, Dan Hughes. Nice to meet you. Make sure you don't trip.
Yeah, watch the cords.
Look at all this stuff.
Rod Erickson, nice
Ron?
to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Barb, Dan Hughes, nice to meet you.
Dan, Dave Kirker,
David,
nice to meet you.
Hope we don't have any tough math questions.
Should have studied, huh?
I should have.
Just some pretty simple stuff. So welcome to the work session. We have just a few questions and the commissioners may chime in with some other ones. Just more or less with a little more background and just a chance to get to meet you. So tell us about your past experience related to management, legal, or human resource profession.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For 35 years, I was in the public safety business, ranging from police, fire dispatcher, full-time firefighter, full-time police officer and firefighter, and then I had almost 30 years of management experience, first-line supervision, middle management, and I retired as the chief of police in the city of Shakopee.
Very nice. Sounds like quite an adventurous career.
It was a lovely career. I had an awful lot of fun.
Super. Tell us about your experience interpreting policy.
I was heavily involved in policy development, and as a leader or manager, most of the things that you dealt with regarding discipline, changes in behavior, is related to policy. So I heavily involved in writing policy. I served as when I was in Burnsville, Minnesota. They were a nationally accredited organization. I was one of the managers of that project that we went through and became accredited. So very knowledgeable in development of policy and carrying out policy and implementing it and holding people accountable to the policy.
Very good. Tell us about any of your experiences resolving grievances.
Thankfully, I didn't have too many of those. I was a past union member where I had to file grievances against the employer. Never went to arbitration or anything like that. As a manager, I had to deal with several grievances throughout my tenure in management. Not hundreds, but several. And as those, it would get to a certain level within the grievance process. And if you couldn't resolve it, it would go to arbitration. And I've had to go to arbitration a couple of different times in my management experience to resolve those grievances. But most of the time, I think if both the employer and the employee are reasonable and try to listen to each other, most of those things can get resolved before they have to go to arbitration.
I agree. How was your arbitration experiences?
I had a lot of, not only did I investigate policy or criminal issues, I was involved in several cases that eventually went to arbitration. There are some police officers that lied during an investigation. Ultimately, they were suspended. We couldn't prove that they lied until one of them came in a couple of years later and said that they had lied. And based upon that, one person got 2 weeks two weeks of suspended for 2 weeks. And he was the one that came forward and said he had lied, and the other ones continued to lie after that. They received a 1-month suspension, and that was arbitrated based upon the investigation that I wasn't a part of, and it was sustained. Another one when I was the chief in Shakopee, I had an officer that was involved in a car accident, absolutely his fault. He didn't believe that he was at fault, but he entered an intersection without his lights and siren on and was hit by another car. Going to an alarm where he should have had his lights on and so forth, and he had to do it in a safe manner to make sure that he would get to the alarm. Instead, he was hit by a car. I gave him a week suspension, and he actually took me to arbitration, and that arbitration took place after he had retired because he had filed it before he retired. We prevailed in that arbitration as well. I certainly believe that part of a leader's job is to develop good policy, make sure their employees understand the policy, hold them accountable to the policy, and if they aren't, you deal with them as far as either training, coaching, progressive discipline, and ultimately termination.
Interesting. Commissioners, if you have anything, just chime in. The Personnel Board of Appeals needs to make final decision on matter within 30 days of the appeal. Can you commit to meeting with the Board of Adjustments or Board of Appeals and coming to a decision within that time frame?
It depends if you allow me to do Zoom or not. I spend my winters in Arizona. So if it's possible to do that through a remote meeting, I could do that. And I'd be happy to do that. And I can do it, assuming I can do a Zoom meeting, I can do it within 30 days.
Okay.
If I have to come back from Arizona, one, it's cold here, so I don't want to do that. But that would be difficult for me to do.
Okay.
But by Zoom or remote, I could certainly do it within 30 days.
Very good.
Mr. Chair, if I have a question on clearance on that, would Zoom be a legal way of functioning for that issue?
I'd have to check on that. It has been allowed with arbitrations.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it would be allowed, but that's just an assumption on my part.
I think we just need to have a little clearance on that so we know.
Yep.
Yep, we will get that clarified.
I don't think it's gonna be a big issue, but I just wanna make sure that that's the proper way we can do things, so, okay.
It's certainly not out of the ordinary now, that's for sure.
But that's the, Mr. Chair, you're correct. So much is done by Zoom now that it's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's taken a whole different perspective to
You
meetings.
certainly deserve your snowbird
Thank you.
situation,
Yeah.
so.
All right, any other questions, commissioners? Very good, very nice to meet you, and thank you for coming in.
Nice to meet you, and I'll shake your hands as I depart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you for coming in. Enjoy your winter.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming in. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Thanks, folks.
Yep, thank you.
Have a great day. Well, that's the next ARPA project. Yeah. Yep.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is Steve Beck.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
We just have a few questions that we'll bring forward with you. Commissioners may have some other things that they'll chime in on and whatnot, but just basically getting to meet you in person and getting a little bit more of your background and hearing it from you directly on experience and things like that. Tell us about your past experience related to management, legal, or human resource profession.
Okay, yes, on my application, which I also attached my resume on there, which over the years, I've done many years of personnel in charge of branches and so forth, and in charge of human resources. Basically my whole banking career. And graduated from graduates from School of Banking in Madison, got my graduate degree. And so I've worked with personnel basically almost my whole working career. Everywhere I held 3 different banks, and every one of them put me in charge of their personnel. So for that, so I've got many years of personnel.
Many years in the management and legal and human resource end of things.
Right, and then
within those careers.
Right, and then I had the judges appoint me to settle state review settlements. County one, Todd County was involved with, was one where Highway 10 and a farmer owned some land, and we had to be appointed two from Todd County and 3 from Morrison County to settle that disputes. They always, REA disputes, judged by judges, appointed me. Like I told the one when over there in Highway 10, I says, they called in all these real estate brokers, and I'm the only one, and I go, Your Honor, I am no experienced in real estate. I don't have my license. He says, no, but you're one that's going. So I have some experience in that too, so.
Absolutely. Yep. Tell us about your experience on interpreting policy.
Policies, I understand policies excellent because I had to make a lot of policies, and so you gotta learn how to write them. And, you know, and this policy, I have to say, you guys, this policy is one of the best policies I've seen. I mean, for whomever's on the committee, it's black and white. It's simple. I mean, it ain't simple. If you read it, but it's simple that there's strict ways to do it and what you're supposed to do and what you can do. So, and then we also have the ability to have an attorney. So that makes the committee very strong.
I appreciate that. Tell us about any experience you may have in resolving grievances.
With that many employees, we never had anybody go on without just sitting down and negotiate and talk back and forth and see what grievances we have. One thing in the private sector, it's easy because the first part of the grievance never went past, is that if you have a grievance with a fellow employee, you both come down and sit in front of me, that you both are going to be here, because I want to hear both sides from both of you. And no one's ever went past that. No one ever come. So, but you guys got to go by a whole different rules. I understand that.
Yeah. Was your experience with your past employee situations like that and whatnot? Probably a lot of them were non-union, correct?
Right, all non-union.
Yep. So not as many grievances or a different style.
Yes, different style and different rules.
Yeah.
And different, yeah. This one, like I said, is written very well. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know how anybody would want to, if they look at this and have to peel through this system. Wow.
Yep. The Personnel Board of Appeals needs to make final decision on matter within 30 days of the appeal. Can you commit to meeting with the Personnel Board of Appeals and coming to a decision within that time frame?
I don't see no problem with the 30 days with an assistant, with an attorney, unless it's legally that we can't do it in 30 days, and that's where you have the attorney help you make it to be able to appeal it longer than 30 days.
Good. Other commissioners, questions?
Thank you for applying for this position.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Nice to see good qualified people come in.
Well, that's why in my resume, I said that time to give back, you know, some from the communities that supported me too.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thanks for coming in.
Okay, thank you.
You still have a no-show on the other one, is that correct? Okay. No, and I don't know if I got clarified or not on that question, but same as what Barb was just reiterating there. Being he didn't show, but maybe would still have interest, does he still have grounds for qualifications and whatnot? I mean,
Yeah, and we, Mr. Chair, we can bring him in here, contact him and bring him in here for an interview. That's really gonna be a board's choice.
okay,
This was difficult to get 3 candidates
sure.
even to apply. So we can reach out and find out if there was a miscommunication. We can put it back out for advertising. It's really up to the board.
What the wishes of the board are.
The other question, do we have to do all 3 at the same time, or can we approve the 2 and then go out and look for one more?
I don't think you have to approve all 3 at the same time. We just need 3
We
board
have 2
members
good
to
candidates.
serve.
We could approve them and then go out and seek,
A third if he's not interested.
yeah.
Well, this last applicant, I honestly don't think he would not show up intentionally. I'm surprised he didn't contact you, but, you know, unless there's some serious issue going on, but I don't know why he would not. I mean, with his background, why he wouldn't call and say, I'm not interested anymore, or I can't make it, or,
We gotta do that contact
Yeah.
back with him.
We'll reach out to him and find out what that reason is and just follow up with you, and then we'll make a plan for the next.
Sounds real good.
He's got some good references.
Some communication. Hey, anything else
do
for
you
the
want
work
these
session?
back?
Yes, please.
That will then conclude our work session for Friday, December 9th, 2022.
We're supposed to get like 12 to 16 inches of snow. Rumor has it. Rumor has it. So the coffee group in Osaka
That was with it by accident,
doing a
sorry.
game on Hot Rod Radio. So they got like 4 frickin' tickets for $20 off Dickman's